what allows us to empathize with each other, which I believe is the oxytocin that's produced in our brains that literally allows us to empathize, isn't produced on the screen or the page. And I discovered that in rooms, that people, it's like a kind of magical communication.
Yeah.
So, you'd be in a place with 5,000 people in the audience, and if you make a place for it to happen, then you can pretend you're sitting in a circle. You have to really listen to each other. And if you have enough time, somebody over here will ask a question and somebody over there will answer it. And people will say things they wouldn't say to their closest friends and relatives because it makes a force field in the room. It's a magic event. The people who have experienced something are the experts in it. So the first thing you have to do is listen. I had just gone in Zambia to a big conference about sex trafficking. I was going to visit friends who live along the Zambezi River. They had arranged for me to meet with village women, about 30 or 40 village women, sitting on the ground in a field. Right. I thought, okay, this time it may not work, this circle thing, because we're just too different. But it did, of course, because finally, after a couple of rounds, one of the women started talking about how her husband beat her, which she wasn't supposed to say, and then everybody else started to tell the truth. So a couple of them had gone to Lusaka and ended up being sex trafficked and never came home. So I said, well, what can we do about that? And they said, well, if we could grow enough maize to have a cash crop, we would have food security and we could pay our kids' school fees and we wouldn't have to do that. I said, well, okay, how could you grow enough maize? They said, well, if we had an electrified fence around a lot of acres, because otherwise the elephants come in as soon as the maize comes and eat it. And right. So I raised money for an electrified fence. It wasn't that much, a few $1,000s. The fence got built. I went back the next year. They had a bumper crop of maize, enough to sell, to have their kids' school fees besides their own food. If you had asked me, what is a cure for sex trafficking, I never would have said an electrified fence. Okay. So this is why we need to listen. I must say that in retrospect, it took me a long time to realize it, but I lived in India when I first got out of college. And I spent a few weeks walking through villages with a Gandhian team that were trying to stop a riot that was going on then. And they used to just say that to me, but I didn't understand it was applicable in this country for many years. They used to just say to me, okay, if you want people to listen to you, you have to listen to them. If you want to change how they live, you have to go where they live. If you, and it's true everywhere.
Yeah.